Duane Thomas was traded to the San Diego Chargers for Billy Parks and Mike Montgomery shortly before midnight on Monday night here in California. 12 hours later, shortly after noon on Tuesday, Mike Montgomery, one of the two acquired, arrived at Thousand Oaks. We asked him when and how he had first learned of the trade.
Well, it doesn't take long to tell someone that they've been traded, but last night I was sitting in a dorm and Coach Savard came over and wanted to talk to me and asked me to come over to his office, and he explained to me that I've been traded along with Billy Parks for Duane Thomas to the Dallas Cowboys. And my initial reaction was kind of a stunned reaction, but when I began to think about it, of course I had a lot of friends in San Diego, but I'm really happy about the trade.
The practice will go on because football will be played, but even now thoughts of Duane Thomas linger. He is gone from the Cowboys, and with him an era of roller coaster emotions involving Dallas players, front office personnel, members of the media, and Dallas fans. In a matter that almost cries for delicate objectivity, it's difficult to find it. Everyone has an opinion on the Thomas affair. I've mine, and I'd like to share it with you. This was a trade that had to be made. Duane Thomas had gone too far. The Cowboys had walked with him as far as they could. They had bent and found they could walk no further. Ignore, if you will, the well-publicized Thomas activities of the last 2 years, and consider momentarily only the Thomas activities of the past 7 days. Last Wednesday, he appeared for practice 30 minutes late. He has the right to do so, but he was fined accordingly. Last Thursday, he boarded the Cowboy charter flight for Chicago sans tie, a direct violation of club policy requiring coats and ties for all out-of-town trips. He has the right to do so, but he was fined accordingly. Last Friday night in Chicago, after the completion of the All-Star game, I saw Duane Thomas outside of the dressing room physically push aside a young lad of about 8 who, being unlearned in the ways of the world, had had the gall to ask this man for his autograph. He has the right to deal with young boys in any manner he sees, but I personally found it a nasty scene to witness. The cruncher came on Monday. He missed the morning team meeting and was fined. He missed the afternoon practice and was fined. He missed the evening meeting and was fined. He told Coach Tom Landry that he simply didn't feel like taking part. Well, the blatantly obvious point, of course, is that given the 100-degree-plus temperatures here Monday, there were 60-odd others who didn't feel like taking part. They did, he didn't, and the point of no return had been reached. There is tragedy in all of this, and I don't speak of the tragedy of Duane Thomas's talent on the playing field, but rather the tragedy implicit in the relationship of one man to many others, and the almost total inability of they and he to reach out and touch, physically or emotionally. Duane Thomas is gone from the Cowboys now, but there should be no cause for rejoicing. This is Verne Lundquist, Channel 8 Sports, Thousand Oaks, California.
Quarterback Ken Anderson, good field position, but it didn't help. 9 times the Bengal passer was dumped, a statistic which led to an even more impressive statistic. The Bengals' total passing offense of minus 52 yards. When punter quarterback Dave Lewis replaced Anderson, the results were the same, more minus yardage. All told, it had to be Cincinnati's most frustrating of their 6 consecutive losses because they never even got close to a touchdown. Bradshaw had 3 consecutive passes intercepted, setting up 3 consecutive Oilers scores. It had to be one of the Steelers' most humiliating days.
Well, it was my idea, and it began by one cold winter night. I was stranded out on Highway 303, and I got to thinking that I'd like somebody to help me. So a friend of mine and myself got together, and we talked the idea over, went before the City Council, and they liked our idea, and that's how it all started.
What are some of the most common things that you have to give people assistance on?
Some of the most ones are flat tires, out of gas, dead batteries. We give a whole lot of directions. After a ball game's over, we try to situate ourselves in a place where we can see all the lanes of traffic, where we can help any overheated cars or anything. And also, if anybody needs us, we can give directions there at that time.
Now you have to pay for your oxygen and your first aid kits and all of the equipment that you have yourself. Wouldn't it be easier on everyone concerned if you had some of these furnished?
Yes, sir, it would.
It might indicate that there's more busing on the federal horizon for school children. The reason it appears that more busing might be on the horizon is that the court in these two cases, although they struck down the busing plan that was involved there, sent them back to the district court for additional busing plans. And specifically in the Austin case, the court mentioned that they had bused only blacks and Mexican American, or substantially those two races, and not as many whites. And they instructed them to come up with a plan that bused all races in different directions.
We anticipate that we will have approximately $113 million in income for this coming year. Our proposed expenditures, including a modest increase for our teachers, will cost about $114 million. We need $1,200,000 to $1,300,000 in excess of what we expect in income this next year.
Words of advice? I think I would just tell him very honestly that we have the crime problem. I think we have some housing problems. Certainly we have some school problems. It's in these areas. I think we have some transportation problems, frankly. And these things, again, if we're to realize the full potential of what I believe is here, we've got to lick these problems. But I personally feel they can be licked. Not easily.
Channel 8 News has learned that a private investigator convicted of wiretapping has given a federal grand jury here in Dallas a lengthy tape recording of a telephone conversation between himself and a wealthy, prominent Dallas citizen. That grand jury is trying to learn who hired investigators to put wiretaps on the home phones of 4 former aides to Dallas billionaire H.L. Hunt. Houston investigators John Kelly and Patrick McCann were convicted of wiretapping last year and both sentenced to 3 years. But they refused to divulge who hired them out to do the wiretapping. agreed to give grand jury testimony after a U.S. District Judge granted them immunity from further prosecution. Whoever hired those detectives to put the wiretaps on the phones of Hunt's former aides is subject to indictment under a 1968 anti-wiretapping law. So far, no one has been indicted, but reliable sources have told Channel 8 News that this tape-recorded conversation with the prominent Dallasite is a turning point in the investigation. Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Federal Building in Dallas.
In calling for apparently additional busing in light of the president's statements, some of the actions of ATW lately, the court saying that there will be no further busing temporarily, or rather the president saying the action of the Rules Committee yesterday on the anti-buzzing amendment. Can you account for the Fifth Circuit?
Yes, I think I can account for it. They don't stand for election this fall, lifetime appointments.
What can I